not a young woman anymore. My bones are slow, and my eyes need a moment to focus when the morning sun pours through my curtains. But there are some sights that cut through age, that pierce the heart so sharply, no dimness of vision can blur them. What I saw that afternoon is carved into me, as though my soul itself trembled. It was a late autumn day. The air was sharp, the kind that carries the faint smell of smoke from chimneys and damp leaves scattered along the road. I had decided to walk the long way home from the market, carrying only a small bag of apples and bread. My steps were slow but steady. I never imagined that this quiet detour would change me and save another life. As I passed the old grove on the edge of town, a sound brushed against my ears. It was faint, broken, not a bird, not the rustle of leaves, a cry, thin, desperate. At first, I thought I had imagined it, but then it came again, strangled and weak. I followed it, my heart tightening with each step, until I reached a clearing. There, tied to the trunk of a tree, was a cat. The sight froze me. A thin chain was wrapped cruelly around her neck, tethered so short that she could barely move more than a step in any direction. Her fur was matted with dirt and dried leaves. Her body was thin, the bones of her ribs sharp under her skin. Her eyes, wide and hollow, filled with a suffering so raw, I felt it cut through me. A shallow bowl of water sat at her side, stagnant now, with a film of dirt floating on top. It was the only thing she had. No food, no shelter, just the cold ground and a chain that held her captive. I later learned she had been there for 5 days. 5 endless days and nights, abandoned to hunger, to thirst, to loneliness. The thought alone is enough to make my hands shake as I write this now. When she saw me, she did not leap or hiss. She did not even cry out loudly. She only looked at me, her eyes pleading, her body trembling with exhaustion. She tried to stand, but her legs wobbled and she sank back down, the chain pulling tight against her fragile neck. I gasped, "Oh my God!" The words left me in a whisper. My chest ached and my eyes filled with tears. I dropped the bag I carried and rushed forward, my old knees protesting, but I did not care. I had never seen cruelty so naked, so deliberate. I reached for her, but stopped. She flinched at my hand, pressing herself back against the tree as though expecting another blow. My heart broke. No, sweetheart, I won't hurt you, I promise. I fumbled for my phone, my fingers trembling as I dialed for help. "There's a cat," I told the dispatcher, my voice cracking. "Someone has chained her to a tree. She's dying here. Please send someone." As I waited, I stayed kneeling by her side, whispering to her softly, though my tears slipped freely down my cheeks. "Hold on, little one. You're not alone anymore. Not anymore." The minutes after my call felt like hours. I knelt beside that broken creature, my knees digging into the cold dirt, my heart hammering in my chest. The cat's breathing was shallow, each rise of her tiny ribs a battle. I kept murmuring to her, though I wasn't sure if she understood the words. Perhaps it didn't matter. Sometimes I think kindness is a language spoken through tone, through presence, through the trembling of hands that reach out not to harm but to heal. When the animal ambulance finally arrived, I felt both relief and fury. Relief that help had come, fury that it had taken so long for anyone to notice her suffering before me. 2 young officers stepped out carrying a carrier and medical supplies. They froze when they saw her. One whispered, "My God," as if the cruelty before us was too much to comprehend. "She's been here for days, chained, no food, only a little water." They nodded solemnly, then approached carefully. One officer knelt and slipped a gloved hand beneath her chin, checking her breathing. The other produced cutters, snapping the rusted chain that had bitten into her neck. The sound of it breaking was like a clap of freedom. When the chain fell away, she didn't run. She didn't even move. She only sagged, as though the weight had not only been around her neck, but inside her very spirit. They wrapped her in a soft blanket and placed her gently in the carrier. She whimpered faintly, a sound so frail I thought my heart might shatter in two. "Will she live?" I asked, my voice trembling like a child. "We'll do everything we can," one of them assured me. "She's weak, but she's a fighter. Cats, they surprise you." I walked with them back to the van, my steps unsteady. I couldn't let go of the image of her eyes, those wide, pleading eyes that had looked straight into mine, as though begging me to be the one to care, to not turn away.
And as they closed the van door, something inside me cried out. I couldn't let her disappear into the system, to become just another case file, another victim left in the hands of strangers. She had chosen me, the moment our eyes met. "Please," I said, placing my trembling hand on the officer's arm. "Please let me take her when she's stable. I can't let her go back to nothing. Not after this." The young woman's eyes softened. She gave me a small nod. "If you're willing to care for her, truly care for her, then yes, she can be yours once she's ready." When the van drove away, I stood in the clearing, the broken chain still lying at the base of the tree, a cruel reminder of what had been done. The silence pressed against me, but it wasn't the silence of despair anymore. It was the silence after a promise. I knew then she would not suffer again, not while I had breath left in me. 2 days later, I walked into the animal clinic with a pounding heart. They had called me that morning to say she was stable enough to leave, though still weak. I don't remember how I got there, only the sound of my cane tapping against the tiles as I hurried through the hall. When the nurse brought her out, wrapped in a clean blanket, I had to swallow a sob. She looked even smaller without the dirt and leaves clinging to her fur shaved in places to treat the sores around her neck. But her eyes were still wide, still haunted. "She'll need rest, plenty of food, warmth, and love. She's fragile, but cats have an incredible will to survive." Fragile, yes, she was fragile. But in her gaze I saw not just fragility. I saw a spark, faint, flickering, but alive. I carried her home in a small carrier, whispering to her the whole way, "You're safe now, sweetheart. No more chains, no more cold nights, just you and me." When we reached my little house, I opened the carrier slowly and set it beside the fireplace. She crept out, trembling, every muscle taut as though expecting another blow. She sniffed the air, then crouched low, her tail tucked tight against her body. "It's all right," I whispered, lowering myself to the floor despite my aching knees. "This is your home now. No one will hurt you here." For hours, I sat with her. She didn't come near me, not at first. She stayed curled in a corner, her thin body trembling. But I stayed too, patient, quiet, humming old lullabies under my breath. At last, as the fire crackled and the shadows grew soft, she inched closer, just a paw's length at first, then another, until finally she pressed her tiny head against my hand. The dam broke inside me. I wept openly, cradling her fragile form against my chest. She was so light, so breakable, and yet in that moment, she felt like the heaviest weight my heart had ever carried. From that day forward, she was no longer just a cat I had found. She became part of me,
I fed her warm meals in small portions, watched her ribs slowly disappear beneath returning flesh. I laid soft blankets in her basket, though more often than not she chose to sleep beside me, her small body curled against my side. Her purr came later, faint at first, as though she had forgotten how. But the first time I heard it, late one evening as I stroked her fur, it was like the sound of hope itself, fragile and trembling, but unmistakably real. Sometimes I still think of that tree, of the chain biting into bark and flesh, of how easily I might have taken a different path that day, and she would have been left unseen, unheard, forgotten. But fate led me there, and now, when she curls beside me and blinks up with soft, trusting eyes, I know the truth. She saved me as much as I saved her. Her suffering is behind her now. Her story is no longer one of chains and abandonment. It is a story of survival, of love, of two broken souls who found each other when the world had nearly given up. And I will spend the rest of my days proving to her that she is safe, she is loved, and she will never, ever be alone again. Stories like hers remind us that cruelty exists, but so does compassion. Every small act of kindness has the power to change a life, sometimes even to save it. This little cat was given a second chance because someone stopped, listened, and cared. If her journey touched your heart, please help us spread the message of love and respect for animals. Every like, comment, and share brings more awareness. And by subscribing to Cats and Fur,